welcome to the first ever episode of The Checkered Lounge. Once again, I'm Annie, your Aussie F1 fan from Down Under, diving straight into the latest fun racing, speedy drama, and all the basics of the best sport ever, Formula One. So we've just come off the back of, honestly, one of the greatest races of this F1 season, might even be my favorite of 2025, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. It was the first race I've witnessed live on Sky Sports because, well, being an Australian, all the races occur at 2 a.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m. And as a high schooler, I cannot stay up all those nights because I have to go to school. But today was the holidays and I was able to stay up for the Silverstone Grand Prix, and wow, what an exhilarating race to experience for my first live one. There was crashing left and right. There were events springing everywhere. It was just non-stop drama and I couldn't stay close enough to... It was so thrilling to watch this incredible race. It's truly the way that the rain evens out the battlefield of the race, because the main part of it now, when there's this torrential downpour causing grip issues and slipping and sliding, is that it doesn't even matter about the car anymore. It doesn't matter how good your car is, how good your tires are, because everyone's using the same intermediates, how good your tire strategy is. It just matters on how good the driver you have on your team is. It's how good the driver is able to control the car and how good the driver is able to manipulate the car in a way that doesn't cause them to spin out onto the grass, as many drivers did, as we witnessed at the Silverstone Grand Prix. It was absolutely insane. So first off, before diving into all the incredible things that happened at the Silverstone Grand Prix, let's hear the latest updates for the World Drivers' Championship. At first, we have Oscar Piastri at 234 points, and in second, Lando Norris, his McLaren teammate, at 226 points. And Lando's win at this Silverstone Grand Prix, his first ever home race win, which is absolutely fantastic for him. He has narrowed down the distance between him and his teammate to 8 points, only 8 points. What his 2 consecutive wins from Austrian and now to Silverstone, he is truly allowing everyone to remember that do not count him out of this battle for the World Drivers' Championship. He is still here, he is still going strong, and everyone out there who is trying to say that he might not be able to win the WDC this year, he's reminding everyone that he's still here, second McLaren seat, and he's still fighting strong. In third, we have Max Verstappen, who was sadly in 165, but honestly, that is an incredible effort from him, being in a Red Bull car against the absolute rockets of the McLaren. And in fourth, we have George Russell in 147. An incredible effort from him as well, being in fourth, but the distance between him and Max Verstappen, it's a very small distance between them, and that's absolutely fantastic. In fifth and sixth, we have Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, both Ferraris, in 119 and 103 points, respectively. In seventh, we have Kimi Antonelli, the rookie Italian for Mercedes, in 63 points. In eighth, we have Alexander Albon, 46. In ninth, we have Nico, and in 10th, we have Esteban, which is incredible that 9th and 10th we have the back markers, the midfielders of Kick Sauber and Haas. I think it's a true testament of the experience that comes with F1 drivers and how much of effect that experience is. Because Nico in Sauber, this is a great drive, and let's go straight into the Hulkenberg podium. Something that all F1 fans have been waiting for so long, more specifically 15 years. After starting in his Formula One career in 2010, it has been 239 race starts. 239. Let's just all sink in at how long that is. It's the true embodiment of don't give up and that good things will come at the right time, because it's been 15 years since his first race start and he has finally been able to experience his first ever F1 career podium. I think that's absolutely insane, because it's also been a really big moment for the Kick Sauber team, which will become the Audi F1 team next year in 2026. But it's been 13 years since the last Sauber podium from Japan 2012. And I think we have so much to say for Nico, because he absolutely dragged that Sauber car into third place, fending off Hamilton in the Ferrari, because even if he's in a Ferrari, he's still the 7-time world champion. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely insane that he brought that car up into third. and kept it there, overtook Lance Stroll and kept it there for the entire race. The last 10 laps, mate, had me absolutely on the edge of my seat because in front of that TV, I just couldn't get enough. I was absolutely terrified. I think that every F1 fan today, no matter which team you went for, no matter which driver that you love, we all came together and celebrated this Hulkenberg podium because it's something that we waited for. It's absolutely incredible. I was so happy for him. It was evident that all the F1 drivers were happy for them. And even in the cool down room, the really funny moment was when he didn't know that he had to bring his helmet into the cool down room, which honestly, I don't even know why either. But the way that Lando obviously brought it for him, it was just an adorable moment. It was definitely a callback, a reminder that this is his first time. 15 years in this Formula One sport is just insane. He never gave up and he finally made his podium. Now, the winner, who I think was the main point of this Silverstone Grand Prix, aside from Hulkenberg, I think Hulkenberg was, in my personal opinion, the biggest moment for this Grand Prix. But here we have Lando Norris, the British home hero, and he won his first ever home race win at Silverstone 2025. It was absolutely insane. He was very strong in second place the entire race behind Oscar. Obviously, we can all agree that it was Oscar's 10-second penalty which cost him the win. He was extremely strong. It was very clear logically that the entire race, his pace was off the charts, faster than Lando the entire race. It was just that one small mistake, that one small moment under the safety car. And it was that one small moment that cost him the entire race, one that he had been leading since the very start and held it very strong against Lando. And it was obviously because in the rain, it makes everything so much harder. But that one small mistake, Piastri got a 10-second penalty due to heavy, dangerous braking in zero visibility weather. Went from 218 kilometers per hour to 59.2 kilometers per hour. That was a heavy brake pressure of 60 psi. Now, a lot of fans were saying that it was obviously unfair and it was the British bias of the FIA because George did the exact same thing in the Canada Grand Prix and he received no penalty. But here's the thing. What Oscar did was absolutely more dangerous and more significant than what George did in the Canadian Grand Prix because George only braked at 30 psi pressure. And what's more important is that the Canadian Grand Prix, George's race, in which he did it in, was a dry race. It was, I would say, a standard average race with no rain. The conditions were drastically more different. Here in the Silverstone Grand Prix, obviously the typical British weather, bringing down that torrential downpour that all British love, but it caused absolutely zero visibility. Nobody could see in front of them, and because of the cars in front of them spraying a wall of water, and Max obviously couldn't see the car in front of him. And the fact that Oscar braked that hard, he fell back that hard, there was a big difference in the speed that he was going. He just immediately slowed down almost to a stop. Honestly, on the camera, it looked like it was almost to a stop. That was dangerous. That was absolutely dangerous because if Max hadn't immediately swerved to the right of Oscar, then there would have been a crash. And I think in this weather condition, there was zero visibility. Like, nobody could see where they were going. Obviously, it caused a bunch of crashes, of which Hadjar and Antonelli one was a really big one. I'll go into that later. But I think the 10-second penalty was fair. Although for Oscar, obviously, it may have seemed harsh at the time during the race in the heat of the moment. The fact that he's like, oh, I'm so obviously getting this win and all of a sudden this penalty is absolutely making him losing the win. Like, when he heard that, it was very clear to him that he would not be winning the Silverstone Grand Prix because the distance between him and Lando was so close that 10-second penalty would absolutely hand Lando the home win, which obviously I'm not saying it's Lando's fault. It's the FIA who gave that penalty, but it must have been in the heat of the moment where that just felt unfair to him. And it may have seemed harsh, but honestly, after going back analytically, looking at the analysis, it was fair. It was absolutely fair. And it's just, you cannot compare that to what George did in the Canadian Grand Prix because they're both very different incidents, of which both actually involved Max Verstappen, which is an interesting note there. It's just a fun coincidence that Max has been caught behind these two incidents. Going into the weather, there was, again, I know I'm repeating this a lot, but nobody could see anything. And a big example of this was the Hadjar and Antonelli crash. Going into the cockpit camera view of Hadjar's car, nobody's blaming him for this crash because it was like he was driving through a cloud. Nobody could see anything in front of them. He was just driving his merry way through when all of a sudden, he crashes into the rear of Kimi Antonelli. Obviously, Kimi being the poor victim of this crash, but It is absolutely not either of their fault because looking into the camera, Hadjo couldn't see anything. He was just driving through blindly. Obviously, came out of nowhere, as heard on the radio. It came out of nowhere for him. Like, obviously, for us watching this race from the screen at home, we can see everything that's happening, but that's not true for them. They're in these conditions on the track racing and they have absolutely no idea what's going on instead of their car and what's happening in front of them or behind them in their mirrors. But poor Kimi Antonelli was absolutely shocked. He was driving his way and then all of a sudden somebody rams into him in the back. Obviously that caused Hadjo to spin out and crash, taking him out of the race. But after a while, everybody thought that Kimi had escaped from that situation without damage. But unfortunately, a few laps afterwards, and then his race engineer told him that they had to retire the car, which is obviously really sad for him. It's been a tough few races for Kimi Antonelli with a couple of DNFs, obviously an issue with the reliability of the Mercedes car, just the engine failing over and over again, and his Europe tour wasn't that good either. So it was very disappointing for him that he couldn't participate in this race either, just because of conditions, factors that he couldn't control in the race, and obviously that was really, really sad. Both rookies taking each other out was really sad. In terms of rookies as well, Ollie Behrman being the only rookie on the grid to actually finish the Silverstone Grand Prix. All the other rookies just got taken out because of the difficult conditions. Obviously, no blame to them. It's so hard to drive in this torrential downpour. It's absolutely raining cats and dogs out there in the Silverstone Grand Prix. I mean, here in Australia, it was honestly raining really hard as well, thunder and everywhere, but definitely not as hard as it was over there. Ollie Behrman, though, congrats to him for being the only rookie to be left on the grid in those terrible conditions. He finished P11, so close to points, but obviously a great finish for him as well. All the other rookies couldn't finish the race because of factors that weren't in their control, such as Franco's engine just breaking down, didn't even start the race. But for the others, it was just a difficult conditions, not their fault. So Lando's home win, though, going back to that, it was an incredible moment for him. His moment with his mother after finishing the race was absolutely adorable, seeing that, like she wanting to see his eyes and just him closing his visor down, probably because he was tearing up, and I don't blame him. He absolutely deserved this win. And just on the side note, people giving hate to Oscar and Lando, just absolutely unnecessary. I think there's no need to give hate to anyone. Oscar felt that the FIA penalty was unfair to him, and that's his opinion, but it's not like Lando was the one to go on the radio and say, hey, Oscar should get a penalty for that. It wasn't his decision, and Lando just sat there and received the benefit from the penalty, and that's just cause and effect, isn't it? It wasn't his choice, it wasn't anyone's choice, it was the FIA's decision. And honestly, going back, I think it's really fair as well because Oscar's heavy braking sent a whole chain reaction all the way down the track with, if you saw from Nico's camera, you could see that he had to very quickly swerve around that Aston Martin because everybody just braked really suddenly, and that I think that was another big factor going into that penalty because it was unnecessary. Yeah, it was just unnecessary. It was just unnecessary to brake that heavily during the zero visibility weather. And under the safety car, 60 PSI was too dangerous for those conditions. Now, Lando, I think his 2 consecutive wins for the Austrian and this Silverstone Grand Prix were really vital. It was a pivotal win. It was a pivotal halfway moment through the World Drivers' Championship in this 2025 F1 season. It was just a little reminder to everyone that don't count him out. He's still fighting, and it might not be Oscar winning that WTC at the end of the year. It might be Lando, but who knows? This inter-team fight in McLaren is entertaining to watch. It is one of the most exciting championship battles we have seen since 2021 after Max Verstappen's absolute hold over championship, holding that number 1 for 4 years now. Yeah, his 5th year. It's really exciting for him, but it's really exciting to see if we will be able to get a new champion this year. And I think it will be one of the McLarens. I think it's obvious it's going to be one of the McLarens. The distance between points in that WDC is just way too large. I think after Max being taken out at the Austrian Grand Prix by Kimi Antonelli, I think it just diminished his entire chances of winning the WDC this year. And I think that's unfortunate for him, but it's really exciting to see that we have these new McLarens, this absolute rocket of a car they've been able to build this year, just coming in, taking charge, and bringing us this incredible team fight, which we will see, because nearing the end at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, we will be able to see who McLaren will back as their first driver, who they will prioritize to win the WDC, and to see if their ease and their comfort in encouraging competition and allowing those two to race, to see if that ease kind of lessens after perhaps a major event occurs because they both race a bit too hard against each other, or to see if they think it's a bit too dangerous to let those two race when the WDC is just so close. And if they take each other out in one of these future races, let's see if McLaren has any more words, has any more decisions to give on that fight between Lando and Oscar, because nearing Abu Dhabi, they will be forced to choose a first driver who they're going to prioritize in races. Who are they going to back to win the WDC? And they have to do that. Their hand is going to be forced, because you cannot just go down the road to the WDC letting them race every single time until it gets too late and then we don't know what's going to happen. So going back into it, he definitely proved himself with these two races that he's capable. He's absolutely capable, and we've seen less of his self-deprecation these last few races, because his two-race sequence is seeing him more comfortable with McLaren than at the start of the year, where he was complaining that it wasn't as comfortable as the past years, seeing how 2024 was his best season so far. He's just more comfortable with the car, and it's seeing how he is now absolutely capable of winning the WDC, and he's absolutely more confident in doing so. And I think as F1 fans, it's just going to be an absolute epic battle between Oscar and Lando. So I'm really excited to see that happen in the second last half of the season. And Max Verstappen actually had a horrible race, although an epic qualifying where out of nowhere got an insane lap in all three purple sectors and got pole. It definitely reminded everyone to never count him out of the competition, even though he's in a less competitive car, a less fast car. The Red Bull car this season is a bit disappointing, as seeing Yuki Tsunoda's results in the second Red Bull seat, but it's just reminding everyone that he is still a 4-time champion for a reason. He's won it 4 times for a reason, 4 years consecutive for a reason, and it's to never count him out. But unfortunately, in these wet conditions, I think the Red Bull car was just not able to fight in these conditions. He was slipping and sliding everywhere, although he kept a really strong ground as second after he lost his pole to Oscar in the very few first turns. He was slipping and sliding. After the safety car ended, he had that crazy turn, making him lose all those really valuable positions, making him drop down to P10. He did incredible in fighting his way slowly to the front of the pack. He went from P10 to P5. He ended the race in P5. I think that was an incredible result for him, seeing how it just all went really bad for him in those wet conditions, and the terrible strategy as well. I think it was just P5 was the best he could do, the best he could push out of that Red Bull car, and I think he should be happy for it. Unfortunately, he is out of the WDC competition, just seeing how the large point gap between him and Lando and Oscar, the two McLarens. Now for the Ferraris, it is extremely sad because Sir Lewis Hamilton's streak for podium here at Silverstone has ended. Since 2014, he has managed to find a way to get onto the podium every Silverstone Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, but sadly, this year in 2025, he finished P4, which really, when looking at it, was his best finish this year for his first year in the Ferrari car. And I think that was just great for him because it was motivating. It was an encouraging race for him. It was the best race he could have had in this reign, showing how he is capable in this Ferrari car, how better it has gotten. His absolute incredible control and comfort in the car has improved. So it was a great race for him. Even though a lot of Ferrari fans and Hamilton fans might be sad that he lost his streak, in return, we got a Hulkenberg podium. And I think that was just the best thing we could have gotten for the loss of this streak of podium here. Definitely a great race, seeing how maybe the second half of the season is just going to be better for him. His Ferrari season started out a bit rough. All Ferrari fans having such a tough start to the season with him just struggling, absolutely struggling with Ferrari strategy, Ferrari race engineers, Ferrari mechanics, just everything. It was struggling, but it seems like it will get better. And last of all, Charles Leclerc, an absolutely iconic moment. Must have been the water moment for him, with the water absolutely splashing into his visor, making him spin out, making him not be able to see anything. It was sadly a horrible race for him. Just absolutely struggling with zero grip and zero comfort in that racing condition in the wet weather. But overall, it was an exhilarating, it was a thrilling British Silverstone Grand Prix. It was the first one I saw live as an Aussie down under here at 1 a.m. in the morning, and I just absolutely, I don't know how I could sleep afterwards because it was an incredible race. Honestly, that rain, even though the rain makes it harder for all the drivers to race, honestly, sometimes I wish the rain could appear more because it just makes the race so exciting. It evens out the battlefield. It doesn't matter how good your car has to be, it just matters how good your driver is and how they can control the car. And I think that was an impeccable race. I enjoyed it a lot because we got the Hulkenberg podium, we got the Lando Norris home win, and we got a really good insight into the McLaren battle. We got this great switch up for the midfield and back marker team, which I noticed how they appeared more in the top 10 than the normal top teams such as Mercedes, because it was just better for them because obviously the upgrades of the Sauber car, but also even if your car is slow usually, if you've just got an average car and you've got a great driver, you can bring it up into P10 and you can get those points. And honestly, the race was just a great addition into the Silverstone Grand Prix. Thank you for listening to an inaugural episode of The Checkered Lounge. See you guys back next time for the next race and hopefully a mini episode in this 3-week break period before the Belgian Grand Prix. But yeah, I'm Annie, your Aussie F1 fan from Down Under, diving straight into the latest fun racing, speedy drama, and all the basics of the best sport ever, Formula One.